So we're going to talk about Sachtler's Active Head Range. The Active Heads have been out for a few years now, but they've got some very cool features that really show what the engineers think about in terms of designing Sachtler products. So, with this head here, which is the Active 14T, if you look underneath, you would notice that there's not a traditional bowl clamp. Now, there's a couple of good things about that. The first is if you have it on a Flowtech tripod, as we do here, the Flowtech will go all the way flat to the floor. But obviously, if you're using a standard head with a bowl clamp underneath it, that bowl clamp is going to limit how flat you can go. So using an active head without that bowl clamp is going to allow you to go that little bit lower to the ground. In fact, completely to the ground. So it doesn't limit in terms of how low you can go with those shots. The reason it doesn't have a bowl clamp there is because it has a lever at the front here. Now again, so rather than having to go underneath and start unscrewing something underneath the tripod or underneath the head on the tripod here, I'm just literally standing in my stand position, lifting this lever, and by lifting it halfway, I can level the head. So it's very ergonomic and it's very fast. And again, so there are two things that the engineers really think about in Sachtler. How do we speed up the setup for camera operators so they can move on to the next shot, the next piece of breaking news, and basically just work faster. So that's your speed level that the active heads give you. If you lift the lever all the way to the top, you can actually remove the head. And we have a speed swap adapter, which you can see within the Flowtech tripod there. And you can buy adapters for, say, a slider. So if you had, you're working with a tripod and a slider, you could have that adapter on both elements. So you could simply lift it up, put it on your slider, you're ready to go. And then once you've finished with your slider shot, lift it back off, put it onto your tripod, make sure you're level, and you're good to go again. So again, it's all about speed. How can we improve the way that camera operators work, make it more ergonomic so you're not bending over, and make it faster. And that the reason I sort of mention those things as well is because that's what is true of the Flowtech tripod that this head is sitting on. So most people will know the Flowtech tripod by now, but just to reiterate, the lever at the top of the tripod head here releases the leg, every section of the leg. So you don't have to bend down and start undoing clamps further down the tripod. You just release the lever like that, set your tripod to the height that you need to be, and you're good to go. So again, making it speed more faster and making it more ergonomic so you're not bending over, just improving the camera operator's work, basically, their daily life.
What would you say to people, because I think a lot of people look at Sachtler as the premier end of tripods, right? They're not cheap in that respect, and the price, to say, of course, it's what you pay for, right? But what would you say is the things people should consider, well, firstly, when buying a tripod, but then secondly, why potentially consider Sachtler's set of tripods specifically in that respect as well, that really stands apart from the other competitors that, have maybe cheaper options or other options in the tripod market specifically?
But the first thing I'd say is anyone that owns a Sachtler will say once you own a Sachtler, you're unlikely to need another tripod. So it's worth making that investment because your Sachtler is going to stay with you for 10, 20. We know people that have kept their Sachtler tripods for 30 years. They're designed to last and be very durable. But in terms of the technology, like you say, we've got engineers that are experts in camera supports designs. So Sachtler's are very well known for the fluid inside their head, so they've got very fluid movement in terms of panning and tilting, which is obviously important. And then stability is the other area. So sometimes people say, it's a little bit heavier than something I've used to before. But you need some element of weight there to provide that torsional rigidity, which means that when you're panning, the whole tripod isn't twisting with you, that you know that is going to be a rock steady shot. So if I try and twist the Flowtech tripod, it just doesn't move because we've thought about that torsional rigidity within the tripod to ensure that when you're using the fluid head and you're smoothly panning, you're not then suddenly going to have a jerk that moves it and brings it back out of position effectively.
Magic, is there anything else you want to mention specifically?
I don't think so. I think that's all for Sachtler today. Thank you very much.
And for those in regards to availability, in regards to pricing, for those who maybe they know the Sachtler brand, they're looking to upgrade, maybe they're looking towards the Active Head or the Flowtech specifically. I mean, what kind of pricing and availability is there at the moment?
So availability is good. I know Flowtech used to have a reputation of not being available because we couldn't make enough for the market, but it's been out for a few years now, so availability of both the head and tripod is good. In terms of the active range, if you're looking at a system with Flowtech, we've got a range of active heads from 75mm Active 6, which has about a 6 kilogram payload, up to this 14T, which has about an 18 kilogram payload, around those numbers. So that the range of systems goes from about £2,500 up to about £7,000 for the active range. Tripod on its own is around £1,600 for the Flowtech 75.